Hello, Year 9. I just made this video for 2F and also for 2G because we're getting into some trickier information and we want to make sure we're setting out our work correctly. So go ahead and set up your paper 2F. You probably wrote these words down yesterday. So just a quick refresher. Gross income means your entire total income. Net income is once you take away taxes or any union fees or any superannuation. It's what's left over and you actually take home to then spend on whatever you need to. However, you can get taxed on any money that you get. So your gross income minus any work-related expenses, pretty much anything that's not work-related can be taxed. And your income tax is assessed based on how much you make. So once you reach a certain amount of money in the year, then you can get taxed on it. So let's just take a look at what it is currently. Under $18,200, you do not get taxed at all. From $18,000 up to $37,000, you are charged 19 cents for every dollar that's over $18,000. So again, you wouldn't be affected under $18,000. From $37,000 to $80,000, we wind up having to pay a lump sum of $3,572, and then plus on top of that is 32.5 cents for every dollar that's over $37,000. If you're in the $80,000 to $180,000, then we have to pay $17,547 plus 37 cents for every dollar that's over $80,000. So again, this sum already comes out throughout the year. As you get paid, a little portion of every paycheck comes out and it gets put aside so that at the end of the year, you don't have to come back and try to pay all this money. And then if you make over $180,000, we have to pay a lump sum of $54,547 plus 45 cents for every dollar that's over $180,000. So that does come out to be a pretty significant amount. We went through this example in class yesterday, so just looking at how we set up our work. For Huang's gross weekly income, find his weekly income. So I'm going to underline weekly. If he earns $1,200 a week as a teacher, and in that week he also tutors 3 hours where he makes $60 an hour, and on top of that he gets interest from his bank account, that's $25. So his total weekly earning, okay, weekly income, is going to be the $1,200 that he makes as a teacher, plus $60 that he tutors for 3 hours, so 60 times 3, so it's actually $180 that he brings in, plus $25 that he makes on his bank account. So if we wind up adding all of those together, you get 1,200 plus 180 plus 25, and we get $1,405 is what he gets per week. For John, he has a gross income of $45,000 and a net income of $20,000. So again, gross means his total income, net means what he actually takes home. So how much was actually deducted? So let's go back for a moment and look again. Gross income minus any deductions, such as tax, union fees, and superannuation. So that means these 3 items were taken out of his pay, and he has a net income that's much lower, much lower than what he originally earned. So that means to figure out how much he actually takes home, his deductions are going to be the difference between the two. So 4,000, excuse me, minus 20,000. So his deductions were 25,000. Wayne pays 31.5% of his gross income in tax. How much tax does he pay on a gross income of $85,790? So he pays 31.5, so 31.5% of his gross income, and this is what his gross income is. So we want to find 31.5% of $85,790. So remember, of in math, meaning times. So I want to take 31.5% times 85,790. And that will tell me his tax. So I'm going to label this as tax that he has to pay. So Wayne would have to pay $27,023.85 in tax. Okay. For this situation, we want to find the annual net income. So I'm going to underline this annual because that means per year. I want to find the net income. And then we also want to find the percentage of the income that's paid for tax. We did A and C in class, so I'm going to look at B and D here. So for B, part I, annual net income. Well, annual net income is the gross income minus any deductions. So we have the gross income minus the tax that was withdrawn, and we get 67,487 minus 13,581, and we should get how much his net income actually is. So that's 67,487 minus 13,581.2, and we have a difference of $53,905.80. For part 2, percentage of gross income paid as tax. Well, we know that the tax paid was $13,581.20, and we want that as a percentage of the gross income. So the gross income was $67,487. If I want to turn this into a percentage, I just have to multiply by 100. So I wind up taking 13,581.2 divided by 67,487, and we wind up with, timesing 100, 20.12. It says to round to one decimal place where necessary, so this one would be 0.1, and that's percent, right? So for part D, go ahead and pause the video here. This one we looked at yesterday because the difference with this one is that it's monthly. So since he makes this monthly and I want to figure out the annual net income, to find the annual net income, I still have to do the gross income minus the tax, but this is all per month. So that means I need to do 3,219 times 12 to figure out my yearly gross income, and then take away $714.62 times 12 because I have to pay that tax every month. Go ahead and pause here and see what you guys get. So we should get $30,052.56. Let's try part 2, percentage of gross income paid as tax. So again, my percent, I paid this much tax. So if I have 714.62 times 12 months, and I divide that by my income of 3,219 times 12 months. Notice that the 12s could cancel out. So it really doesn't matter when you're finding percentage that we have the times 12. It doesn't actually have to be for the year. If you find it for the month, it's going to come out to the same ratio. All right. And then, oops, got to multiply that by 100. So go ahead and pause here and see what you guys get for your percentage. So for this one, it should be 22.2%. All right, guys, we're going to go through A together, and then I'm going to ask you guys to try B on your own. This says to calculate the amount of tax to be paid using the following annual salaries and tax rates if the first $6,000 is tax-free. So we're getting taxed at a rate of 15%, but the first $6,000 is tax-free, all right? So if that's the case, and we look at this first person's salary, all right, the first $6,000 they're saying is tax-free. However, they're saying we're going to get taxed on the rest of this. So what we need to do is figure out how much are we actually going to get taxed on. So let's take away that initial $6,000, and that will leave us with $12,200. Then they're saying we're going to get taxed at 15%. So I'm going to have to take $12,200 and multiply that by 15%. So I can figure out how much tax I'm actually going to need to pay here. So 15% of 12,200 means I need to pay $1,830 in tax. Go ahead and set up part B and see what you guys get as your answer. So I'm going to come around and look for your work. You should have gotten $8,043 for your tax. For this last example, we're going to use the tax bracket that was given to you guys earlier. I'll go back to it, or you can rewind the video to get back to it as well. But we're going to look at what tax we would have to pay if these were our annual salaries. So for example, if I made part B, it says $10,000, and I go back to my tax bracket information, $10,000 falls in this category, and therefore I would have to pay no taxes. So that is very nice. So nil, right? Or no tax whatsoever. If we go to E, where I make $80,000, let's go back and see what happens at $80,000. At $80,000, so including $80,000, I'm right here. I have to pay $3,572 plus 32.5 cents for each dollar over 37,000. So I do need to figure out how many dollars I make over 37,000 and then charge myself 32.5%, plus I need to pay $3,572. So let's go ahead and write all that information down. So let's take a look at what's happening here. We have to pay $30,572 no matter what. Then on top of that, so I'm adding on 32.5 cents would actually be 0.325 since we're talking about dollars, and this is in the cents position, for every dollar that's over 37,000. So I need to take my salary of 80,000 and subtract off 37,000 to figure out how many dollars I make over 37,000, and then multiply that by 0.325. So once I put all of that in my calculator as it is, I will figure out how much tax I actually need to pay. So for this example, it would be $17,547. So I'd like you guys to try F, pause here, try it on your own, set up your work, and I'll come around and look for your work. Double check that you'll get the correct answer when you push play again. And we should get 35,677. All right, guys, that's it for this topic. I'll see you guys next time on G.